Make sure my phone is silent.
Every time he walks by me, he says, I gotta get money out of you for the games. Every time. So I don't see any dirt moving on your lot. Are you putting dirt in there yet?
You ready, Amy? Ready, James?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is James W. Hurston. I'm the chairman. And welcome to today's meeting. This is our regular meeting, and it is November 18th, 2021. And this meeting is hereby called to order. I'd like to remind everybody, if you would please, to turn off or silence your cell phones. I'll do the same. But with that being said, we always start off our meeting with invocation and pledge of allegiance. If everybody would like to join us. Shall we pray? Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we take this time to praise your holy name, and we just thank you for all that you do and the hedge of protection that you provide for this airport authority, its employees, and its operations. We ask now that you bless this board with wisdom, guidance, and discernment. And we once again give you the honor and the glory and praise for all you do for us. We ask for that continued hedge of protection of all we do, and we ask this name in Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen. Commissioner Albert, would you like to lead us?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Andrews.
Here.
Oh,
Mr. Andrews.
But I'm here.
The other Mr. Andrews.
Ms. Oliver. Here. Mr. Carr.
Present.
Mr. Hurston.
present.
Mr. Parrish.
Here.
Mr. Hansen.
Here again.
Ms. Coppola.
Here.
All right, thank you, Miss Amy. We'll move on then to citizens' input. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board during this portion of our agenda? And if you could please state your name and for the record, and you're allowed up to 2 minutes, unless I authorized continued minutes. But do we have anybody who would like to speak? All right, I am seeing nobody coming forward. Dr. Pitts, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. We have nobody coming forward on citizens' input. Mr. Parrish, do we have additions and/or deletions?
Nothing at this time.
Very good, very good. We'll lead into employee recognition. Ms. Desquin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have a couple of 3 from October, 5 years of service awards, and then 1 for November for 10 years. So I'll bring up their managers with them if Keith wants to come up. The first one is Alberto Monahan. And he's our fuel farm technician. He's been here for 5 years.
Congratulations.
And our other 5-year from the FBO is one of our fuel service supervisors, is Greg Hill, which is the photo up there. He's off today. And next we have Steve Lalaberta. Liberty. I only know the way that Ray says it. So. He is our program analyst. He's been here for 5 years. Ray,
Hello, Steve. So Steve and I worked together previously at TSA for a few years, and I was able to convince him to come on board here and help us out with managing our computer maintenance management software system and putting that program all together, which is now 5 years strong. And he's actually retiring again next month. So we're going to miss Steve and thank him for his contribution to the organization.
We have 10 years for Bo Fisher. He is our facility supervisor.
So all the stuff that Steve puts into the computer maintenance management software, somebody has to then go and take care of maintenance-wise. So Bo leads the team over there. All you guys that are in the hangars know Bo and his team and the work that they do, and it's really impressive what they get done with such a small staff. So we really appreciate his leadership over there. And thank you for 10 years.
Yes, thank you, Bo. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Deskin. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on that agenda. Our meeting minutes of October 21st and our resolution 2021-06, the budget amendment. The board is ready for a motion, or the chair, I'm sorry. I know the board's ready.
I move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Oliver.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to our Secretary Treasurer's Report, Mr. Hansick.
Good morning, everyone. Draw your attention to the screens. You'll note this is a brief overall summary of how we're doing on our financials through September 30th of this year. In revenue, you'll notice that our revenue was $15.5 million, over budget by $2.5 million positive, which is exemplary. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Close enough?
That's close enough.
That's good.
Expenses, $11.3 million. We budgeted $10.8 million. Have a variance of $500,000. On a budget of that size, I find it to be acceptable. I'm not sure where it all was, but I think it was in capital improvements.
Well, we can, I mean, I can explain.
Talk to it, yeah. And operating gain and profit, year to date, we were at $4,100,000. Budget year to date was $2.1 million. So we had a positive variance of almost $2 million, which is a very healthy position to be in. Those of you who are really interested in getting into the nuts and bolts of our budget, both the capital and the operating budget, this is all available on our web page, and it's very detailed. You can go by each account to see where the dollars are being spent and where the revenues are coming in. James, if you want to mention the $500,000.
Sure. So we just approved the budget amendments because this is year-end numbers, and if you look, there were a few items that kind of stuck out. Insurance losses. We did have not a fuel spill, but we had an incident in the fuel farm underground where we found a leak. So that was about $60,000 of unexpected maintenance requirements. We also had a repair to the oil water separator. That's another $100,000. And then legal and professional was over mostly due to some tenant issues, and then we had a PFC application that we were hoping to put off another year, but because of our employments we had to move forward. We did that, as well as a DBE study. So those were the major things that jumped out. And then we also had assumed about $200,000 in interest, but because the rates dropped, we only got $100,000.
But in synopsis, what you see before you up on the screen is gives you a working knowledge of the main revenue, expenses, and profit. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
James, you want to go over the...
Everything else is what you just approved in the budget, year-end budget. This is September year to date, so it's the entire year. We finished the year very positive. September, as we expect, is always a slightly slow month, but everything finished up well. Our balance sheet continues to grow. Our total net position is about $125 million. And let's see if I can find there we go. And I think right now our aging report, if you look at it, we only have one that's fairly far behind, and we're working on them, which is Worldwide Flight. Allegiant is they're generally about 30 days on their payments, so. But everything seems to be going okay. Tenants are busy and able to pay their bills, so things look good. And we are, like we said, PFC 1 amendment is done. PFC 2 is almost completed, and PFC 3 is started. So we are collecting money for all those projects that were previously approved and spending it as fast as we can.
I think it might be important to just review what the PFC is. That's the Passenger Facility Charge, which has been it's a federal program that allows airports to charge up to $4.50 per passenger leaving. That $4.50 is collected by the airline. They drag back 8% of that, and then they send us a check for the rest of it. And those dollars are used to build capital improvements on the airport. And that's what we refer to as the PFC.
Yeah, and to date, we've collected a little over 11 million.
And as traffic increases, for every passenger that goes out, another basically $4.50 comes back in an additional revenue source for us.
Thank you. Any questions?
James, so that covered PFC and the checkbook, is that correct? The checkbook register?
Yeah.
All right. Very good, thank you, Mr. Parrish. We'll move on then to our committee reports. We'll start off with the Punta Gorda City Council, Mr. Hansick.
Okay, I do have the pleasure, and actually this is the second time I met him, we have in the audience the new city councilman for the city of Punta Gorda, Mark Kuharski. Is that close?
Yes, it is.
He's sitting in the back. We talked briefly this morning on how we're going to liaison, as we put it, and we'll go from there. Welcome, and he already told me he's sending me all the noise complaints.
Is that it?
That's it.
Very good, thank you, sir. All right, we will move to Commissioner Andrews, the Charlotte County Board of County Commissioners report.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Deutsch. Would you like to brief us, as you are in the best seat in the house to do it?
You did say brief.
I'll give you the brief version. That's not fair. I've been keeping my things under 4 or 5 minutes. There are a couple items I just want to touch upon and just share with you guys. Every business in Charlotte County would like to be running as efficiently and well and serving the community to the extent that you guys. So I certainly compliment all of you and your staff and your operation. It's exemplary, and it's sort of neat because I rarely get a complaint about the airport, so that's really nice to hear. That's always good. We're facing, as we all are, the challenge of unique and exceptional growth in Charlotte County. We're probably going to be close to 200,000 people around January, February. And also, as I'll segue into my second item, we have somewhere between 27 and 28,000 veterans that live in Charlotte County. And we're sitting next to the sheriff we were talking about. We're an estimated 5,000 first responders, retired and active, that live in Charlotte County. Anyway, with that being said, we want to thank you folks for participating in the Charlotte County Veterans Day Parade. The parade is sort of getting near the types and kinds of things that I'm excited about with parades as a youngster growing up with lots of parades. But we had 700 youngsters in the parade. And we had one special youngster, which is one of 2 of our keynote speakers, by the way, a 6-year-old young lady who was quoted in the newspaper when she said every day should be Veterans Day. And she's the 9th generation descendant of a Pennsylvania soldier that served in the Revolutionary War. So that was like 9 greats that you have to go ahead and say that. But and the highlight, in addition to honoring our veterans, was the the groundbreaking at the William R. Gaines Jr. Veterans Memorial Park of the memorial for our first responders, and that recognizes each one of the 6 different groups that serve us with first responders, the 3 fire departments, the police department, the sheriff's office, and the state folks that are first responders. And in the middle of that memorial, and Jim knows well about the memorials, your chairman, I will share with you, has actually volunteered hours and hours and hours of service to help make this. And out of the literally hundreds, if not thousands of people that are supporting it, I embarrassed him by singling him out, so that was great. But thank you, Jim. Thank you, guys. Look forward to the parade next year. The 2 big items that we're talking about now, and I'm going to touch upon a couple things, and I'm going to take a minute or 2, Rob, because I think it's important that people know it. If you know the mentality, and as I know you guys, of the 5 county commissioners we have, I don't think there's any one of us that would react real well to a threat, and I'm putting that in quotes. And I'm not just talking about from a security point of view. We were blindsided, as was the rest of the community, what happened with the cultural center. And about with 10 days notice, and by the way, the contract with the cultural center was signed in the year 2000, and it was a 40-year contract, and it's run by a 501c3, and we rent it for $1 a year, and we assist by fixing the roof and taking care of the grounds, but they've run the show. And I remember when it first opened, it was awesome. It was at the university, I think it was called, and it served a great function. Well, the reality is about 10 days before they closed down, they sent us an email and said, well, listen, we need $300,000, and if we don't get it, we're going to shut down in 10 days. You can imagine collectively how we reacted. And I'll share with you, the church that had rented space from the 501c3, they had no warning. The instructors, the people that volunteered, Dr. Pitts, your wife has been there teaching dance class. Did she have any notice or any warning? No one did. The community, and it's unfortunate, the community was blindsided. And particularly in silly season, that's the beginning of the election time, as you know, it's interesting that we're getting blamed for the cultural center. I will tell you this, we're going to step back. We're going to take a really good look at it. Hopefully we're going to take a look at all those things that have worked and have worked well over the years. We're going to take a look at maybe some new things that we should be doing. And personally, you know, I want to see us move ahead with a bigger and better cultural center. And we're going to take several months to do it. We're going to try and, you know, have due diligence, look at the pluses and minuses, and see how we can effectively move ahead to serve the community. Obviously, the world has changed since the late 60s. We didn't have cell phones. Chips was something you found in a bag. We didn't have computers. We didn't have virtual reality. We didn't have the internet. And also, we have another dozen or so churches and organizations that, you know, that serve the community. So we want to see how we can best do this, and we're going to be looking into that. And the last item I'll touch upon real quick is impact fees. You guys are, familiar with that and how it works, and there's 2 sides to that. The builders and the realtors, don't like to see impact fees, because even though it's a pass-through, it does make the price of a property a little bit more expensive. But then again, the biggest part of our population that lives here says, hey, we paid for the schools, we paid for the libraries, we paid for the swimming pool, we paid for, these folks come in, maybe they should chip in a little. My guess is there's going to be some increase in it. But we're not going to go to the top, and we're going to do something that, is as moderate as we can. But we do, one of the things this board does, and why I'm so proud to be part of it, we really try to look down the road, not 5, 10 years, but 20, 30, 40 years with our planning. But, unless you have any questions, I try to keep it brief, Rob. Yeah, you have a short agenda today anyhow. So if you have any questions, but again, thank you guys for what you do. I compliment you on what's happening with the airport, and if you have a few extra dollars and you'd like to make your contribution to the William R. Gaines Jr. Veteran Memorial Park, it is a 501c3. And by the way, several of you have done it personally, so I thank you for that as well. This is going to have national significance. this park is going to stand out in the country. And you all know that it's named in honor of a Punta Gorda young man who was killed at 21 years of age in the bombing in Beirut, along with 240 other Americans. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Deutsch.
Mr. Andrews, plate?
Say again?
I said, does that do it for you?
Yep.
All right, very good, thank you. Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Move on to the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the Economic Development. That is my committee. I reported our last MPO regular meeting in Murdoch was October 18th, and I reported on that last month. Our next meeting is December 16th. And I also attended the MPOAC, which is the advisory council meeting that consists of 21 member each of 27 MPOs, and I attended that in Orlando. And I think the biggest highlight, other than our executive director's report, similar to Mr. Parrish's, and agency reports from the DOT and the Federal Highway Administration, we voted in a new executive director, so that's great news. But with that being said, economic development out there on the private side, very busy. I've got about 2 or 3 projects around the airport here that are starting up and kicking up, and I'm sure the other engineering firms that are sitting in the audience are swamped, but it's real brisk out there. It's quite a blessing. But anyways, we'll move on then to our community report. Ms. Capola.
That's interesting. I wonder, is that just Florida or all around the country that this is starting up again? Just curious.
I'd say pretty well around the country.
Oh, interesting. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our meeting this morning. My agenda was I attended a Republican Executive Committee meeting where we discussed many opportunities, but I also discussed available at the airport and all the cities that we fly to, our runway lengthening, and we run this wonderful airport in the black, which is amazing in this day and age. Liberty Caucus meeting I went to, it's something brand new starting, and they invited me to come and wanted me to represent the airport at their meeting. I hope that's all right with everybody. The Chamber of Commerce Awards Luncheon was attended. I believe Mr. Hansick and I were representing the airport. That was a very interesting luncheon also, a lot of good speakers. We were in the parade, our chairman, Mr. Hurston, and I, in the parade for the Veterans Day, and that was fun. We started off at the beach complex. I love stuff like this. We started off at the beach complex, and we went all around the town. A lot of people came out waving flags. Nice to see the kids on the sidelines waving flags and saying hi. And we want to thank all the veterans for what they've done. My husband was a naval veteran. The beginning of the Vietnam War, so it was struck a chord. Sorry. Women's Club of Charlotte County, I also went to a Thanksgiving luncheon, and I gave a report also about the airport, the progress we're doing, the destinations we fly to. It's a really nice organization of women that help kids get scholarships in our local high schools, both local high schools, and they do certain fundraising events, and also they go to the Veterans Hospital twice a year with presents we have a Christmas in July, and we have a Christmas at Christmas time for them. So it's a really nice group of women, and I'm glad that I joined the group. Anything else? I understand you had a terrific barbecue. I couldn't attend it due to a falling palm tree. So I understand I missed a really good barbecue. So thank you, James, for putting it on. Appreciate it.
I just cooked.
You just cooked? Okay. Well, everybody who ate had a good time, I guess, too. And that's my report. Been busy.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on then to state legislation. That'd be Commissioner Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As many of you know, the state legislature just got done with a special session up in Tallahassee to address vaccine mandates. And they passed a series of, I think, 4 different bills that would kind of blunt the effect of President Biden's mandate on employers with over 100 employees. And basically, the reason that they did this was because they recognized that there is a labor shortage in the state of Florida, and they wanted to protect the ability of workers to make their own choices about whether or not to get vaccinated. The bills, among other things, they prohibit governments from instituting vaccine mandates for their employees, prevent school mask and vaccine mandates in the public school systems. It lays the groundwork for the state to join 21 other states and develop its own OSHA. And it removes the power of the state Surgeon General to order vaccinations for the population during times of emergency. It only would apply to Florida-only businesses, and it doesn't prevent private employers from imposing their own vaccine mandates, but it adds additional opt-outs for employees. I think it's those who have already had COVID, and so already have the immunities, those who anticipate pregnancy, and those who, I believe, they agree to use employer-provided personal protective equipment when in the presence of other employees or persons. So they just got back yesterday, so we'll see what ends up happening. I think most of you know the federal government, federal OSHA has stayed their enforcement of their mandate. So I think that's in the 6th Circuit now. So we'll see what happens. I also understand I was unable to attend, but the legislative delegation was held last week, and I heard that Commissioner Hurston did a great job presenting our appropriations request for the $3 million for the CTC. And that was echoed and supported by their school board and county commission. So thank you all for your support. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
I have one other bill that I would like to bring up, if that's okay. There has been a bill filed by a representative out of Gainesville, Florida, that would limit the amount airports are allowed to charge to TNCs. And the limit is it's right at what we charge. The problem is when government starts regulating and I'm, airport fees, what's next? And so we're fighting that hard. He did this because he was upset that Gainesville raised their fee 300%. Well, they raised it from $1 to $3 to be more of the industry standard. And he's also limiting it to pickups only, so you can't charge for drop-offs. And then this is the real thing. You can't change where they park. Where they're parking today is where they park always. Well, that's not feasible. We're going to move them 3 times in the next 4 years. And all it is an electronic fence that Uber puts around them that says if you're here, first one in gets the first ride. So we're trying to explain to the legislature exactly what that means. The airport group is working tirelessly on that one. So keep you up to date on that. And
Who proposed that?
I'll get his name. He's a representative out of Gainesville, Florida, who's very upset. You got to understand, Uber is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they're fighting fees all over the place. They don't like to pay, but it's not fair to the rental cars, to the taxis. Everybody pays to operate on an airport, and they don't want to.
So you think you have a good case?
I think we have a great case. I don't know that we'll win. They have more lobbyists than we do.
Thank you, James. Any questions to anybody? Board, all right, we'll move along. We'll move on to our attorney's report. Attorney Carr.
I have a somewhat limited report because we're going to go over it, a lot of other things later that we've been working on. The only thing 2 things I would note of interest is the Gulf Contours matter. Obviously, I'm keeping close tabs on that. I found out they didn't pay their taxes pursuant to their agreement. I communicated with the taxing authority. The taxing authority informed me that Mr. Goins had asked for a 1-month exemption because apparently he was undergoing some medical procedure. They granted it. Since the taxing authority is in concurrence with that, I believe he's in concurrence with the program. So obviously, I don't believe it constitutes a default under his current lease. I know nothing other than that. We'd note that he's supposed to give us an indication as of December 1st as to his progress. See if that happens. We've been working on a number of leases, buybacks, et cetera. As you know, Mr. Hackett deals a lot with the buybacks, he being a primary real estate lawyer. The other leases are in process, and we're going to go over them later. Obviously, a number of various contracts, business contracts, predominantly the Oak design contract. I think we've hammered that out over the last 2 weeks or so. So other than that, everything's going well.
Excellent. Any questions for Attorney Carr?
No, thank you.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Our CEO's report, Mr. Parrish.
Good morning. I'll try and run through Ron's report really quick. Ron is out this week with his family. They showed up a week early. He was supposed to be out next week, but it's family. If you just go through the first page of his report, goes through all the projects. We're still developing the RFP for the spec building. The self-serve fuel, we did get in bids on that. We rejected them all, and we are going to see if we can buy it directly and just build the pad to save about $400,000. Rental car study, we're still reviewing the outcome of that. We'll see how we move forward, trying to get once we get the new engineers and planners on board, we'll do a real quick terminal plan. I think it's important as we grow just to look at that one more time before we make any actions that'll have long-lasting effects on the airport. In design, taxiway, Delta Rehab, we working on the contracts for that. The 50 by 50 hangars are almost done. The inline baggage system is a long process. It'll be about a year of design through the TSA. The FBO hangar, as Attorney Carr alluded, we've signed the second phase of the contract with OAK. Roadway network improvements, that's the third lane, or the second in lane and the second out lane, as well as another lane in front of the terminal. We are expecting any day now, I was hoping for this meeting, but a grant from the DOT to pay 50% of that project. We met with the new intermodal director here. She came by and we went over all of our requests that we've had over the last 3 years. She was very interested in that. I want to bring up one item with that, and I wanted to print out the email, but I didn't pull it off my printer before I came here. There is a right turn lane on Piper into the airport planned for that. It's part of our overall scheme plan to get passengers off Piper onto our property as efficient as possible and not back up traffic on the Piper. There was, at the last end of the project on Piper Road, a water line installed by the city. It is their guest in the right-of-way. We have been working with the city to relocate that water line so it's not under the right turn lane. At first, the city was like, oh, okay, we can't fund it this year, but we can work out an interlocal agreement. You guys do it, we'll repay you. Then we got a second email that was a little more concerning to me, that was very verbose, very long-winded, talking about why we're doing this, have we done studies, and mind you, this project has been funded now by the DOT. They've looked at everything, they think it's a good project, they're putting money behind it. Well, one of the suggestions that came from the city was, why don't we just move all the Allegiant traffic to RSW? What? To me, that is a very concerning thought from a senior executive with the city. So I'm going to continue to work. I'm glad we now have a new city council liaison. I'd like to meet with him and go over this. The airport is going to continue to grow, and I think we're doing it responsibly. And I hope the city is partners in this growth, but that concerned me greatly, and I just wanted to bring that up as I work through that with them.
Jim, what's the size of the main and the approximate cost of relocation?
I believe it's a 12-inch main, and it's about $120,000. So the last two designs, the roadway network and the terminal are one project, and we're finalizing that so we can get that out to bid as soon as we get the grant from the DOT. Runway 422 is going to be closed starting January for about a year. Then we will see the runway rehabilitation and reconstruction, as well as the wetlands removed, the Phase 2 wetlands. And then the T-hangar projects are back underway, and the new General Aviation Center and ramp is going along. I would encourage you guys, if you're here at the airport, call Ron, call Vaughn, go look at the new GA Center. Now the roof's on, the walls are going up, they're paving, you're really beginning to see what it's going to look like and what a magnificent facility that's going to be as we move forward. Any specific questions? There's a lot of information in your book.
Commissioner Hansick.
I'm concerned about your email and what was said. You said it was a senior executive with the city of Punta Gorda?
Yes.
I assume that being the city manager?
Not the city manager, but directly under him.
I think our new city councilman has to take a look into that comment. Mark. I mean, that's,
Absolutely.
you know, in my mind, that's strike two. I mean, strike one was privatization, and this could be strike two. So we need to patch this relationship up. It's very important that we get along. And,
It is, and that one was...
that's out of the blue.
Yeah, it was. So I will continue to work through that. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's it for the development update. We can go to marketing.
Jim, that our General Aviation, is that a zone, a FEMA Zone X?
I believe it is X.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller?
Good morning. I just have a reminder that the Christmas parade for the Charlotte County Chamber of Commerce is going to be December 11th, and I believe y'all are all going to participate as our commissioners. Thank you for that. And we'll probably have 4 of our Canine Comfort Crew pets and handlers with us. And the theme is toys, trains, and candy canes, which seems very Christmassy and holiday-ish, so we'll be fine with that. So I just want to remind y'all about that, and I'll send you an email as well. If you have any
What would happen to the airplane part of that?
Oh, if someone would like to build us an airplane or find us an airplane, we would love to have it, but unfortunately, that's not in my wheelhouse. But
We have an ex-airplane builder in the audience.
we have any volunteers that would like to help us with our float, make it extra special. I'd love that. It's just not in my expertise, but we'd love some volunteers if we have anyone. Otherwise, we'll be doing graphics and puppies and,
Whatever happened to the old airplane? Did it
The
get
helicopter?
caught?
oh, it's
Yeah, the helicopter.
It fell
pretty
apart.
sure it's at the trash can somewhere.
I
We
think
blame
it was a
Hurricane
little-
Charlie for that.
Well, I know Schumann, who was in our audience, was a great contributor to the building of that helicopter. And we had more fun, kids loved it. We got a lot of attention in those parades. That was fun.
If I remember correctly, wasn't that assembled by the Wrong brothers?
Yes. Yeah, and Don Lee, also, our former and deceased member. We had fun. We should do that again.
If
Can we do
anyone
that
would like to
again?
take it on,
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
wonderful.
We'll call you when we got our hammers and nails and saws ready.
Hey, if I can take down palm trees, there's nothing I can't do.
James.
Anything else, Ms. Miller? No? Okay. Go on to the aviation report. Mr. Mallard?
Okay, we had a very good month of October. Sun Country joined us here. We had 131,379 passengers. That's up 25% over 2020, and it's up 12% over our best year we've ever had in 2019.
Yeah.
So we're also, this month, we're adding Bentonville. That will start the other day. Today we have Austin, Texas, and tomorrow we have Mr. Hansick's favorite airport, Springfield, Missouri, coming on board.
My second favorite.
In addition, we have our...
Second.
In addition, we have our seasonal cities coming back. We have Traverse City, Michigan, Baltimore, Elmira, Rochester, and Syracuse, New York.
No islip, huh?
No islip yet. Just kind of an interesting note, this last week between American and United, they have dropped 29 routes and cities out in the United States. So, but Allegiant continues to be strong here, along with our traffic for Sun Country has been excellent. So that's great news. Tower traffic's up 20%, and our T hangar list, we're at 62 currently.
Oh, good.
Fuel-wise, we had our 4,000 up on the avgas, and on the retail jet side, we're up 42,000, so that's excellent. And the airline side, you can see the services increasing at 173,000 we're up. So all good on the aviation side, and we're looking really great for 2022.
Yeah, during the cookout yesterday, I think we had 4 jet operations leaving the GA ramp, so it was very busy in and out. We were able to feed a few people that came in to go fishing before they left back to Dallas, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, the FBO was crowded yesterday, and I know they're looking forward to getting to a brand new facility with a lot more space, a lot more ramp space for them. All right, I'll go on to leases. We keep talking about a lot of these things. Just want to let you know where everything is. Blackbird Aviation, I met with them a couple of weeks ago to talk about the lease that we had given them for the 60 acres. They've decided against that. They initially had spoken about just 10 acres up on the north side. At this meeting, they told me they are working with Bruce Lashley for some property in the industrial park to the south and east of us, and will be requesting, well, if that works, they will be requesting a through the fence agreement with us. While I'm positive on the outlook of an MRO coming here, I warned them that will lengthen the time required because of through the fence agreement. It's a difficult agreement to get through the state as well as the feds. And they're also looking at the IDA land. Their idea for the IDA land was to move the school there. I know there will be strings attached to the $3 million if we get it, and it'll have to be spent on the airport. So the only real option for the IDA land would be for us to buy it. But right now, with them talking to the IDA, they really want to, the IDA has decided they want to talk to them first, see what happens. And then I have talked to them about us making an offer, and they asked me to hold off for a few weeks, so I'll let you know how that moves forward. Daybreak, which is the convenience store, gas station, restaurant, fast food restaurant on the corner. They're still reviewing the lease. They had a few questions earlier this week that we answered about the lot, the cell phone lot. So I think they're moving forward with that. We hope to have something back, I'd hope by the December meeting, a final lease that the board can review. Jet Access is a company that they're an aviation management company. They are currently in negotiations for a few offices in the FBO building, but they are talking to us about building their own storage hangar and operations hangar. We've laid out about 4 sites next to our hangar. And what we'd like to do is we have 2 letters of intent. We're going to offer, once we have a final build price, we're going to offer them to just contract directly with OAK, and OAK take our price and just duplicate that building a couple of times. So we'll see how that goes forward. But Jet Access is an interesting company as they would be bringing in large jets that they operate for other people, large private jets, and then doing their maintenance here, doing their service here, and then crewing them out of here, going to pick up people. The Air Center restaurant, we are continuing to discuss with potential restaurateurs. We sent some information to one this week. We had another inquiry that we're going to be sending some information to. We had a good meeting with an Italian restaurant chain operator out of Fort Myers. He's very interested in it. They want to come once the building's a little more finished so they can see exactly what it's going to look like. So we expect in the next, I would say first of the year, we can start bringing people in for tours and then get something started. Any questions on those?
Just one concerning the IDA real estate. To me, that's a very important piece of property, and I don't know why we're being pitted with somebody else. We ought to just cut the deal. I think there's a relationship through the county commission on getting that IDA grant. We've got an appraisal on it, and we need to go forward, and maybe there needs to be a little political pressure.
Well, I think one of their biggest concerns is they have to then take this deal back to the county commission. The county commission gave it to them saying it was worth $3-point-something million. We all know it was never worth that much. It's about 55% wetlands and has no access. So I think the offer we're intending to make is a good offer, and less us giving someone access, no one else can develop that land. So I will have something back next month on that.
Let me ask you this question. If we make the offer in advance of holding it back, then the IDA is going to have to take that offer to the commission.
Or reject it.
Or reject it.
So I'll proceed.
James, last we dealt with a through the fence issue, I understood that the FAA highly discouraged through the fence. Is that still correct?
That is correct. That's why I said it would be
they don't want one, and they highly discourage it. So I'm just a little bit concerned that somebody thinks that they can do that process. I don't mind them trying, but I don't want them to. They should understand that the FAA is adamantly opposed to through the fence access to airports. So
I think
I admire them looking at other places. I think the probability of them getting through the fence access granted by the FAA is slim to none.
It should be.
So in discussions with the FAA over the last few years, not about this specifically, but about through the fence operations, that it is increasingly more difficult. They have been approved for Prime Air, for FedEx, for UPS, large operators that bring freight in that then goes into a processing center through the fence. MROs, I'm trying to do some research on any recent MRO through the fences. I have not found one yet, but I'm waiting on the FAA to give me some background. Is it impossible? No, but it does delay the timing of the project significantly. So that was my feedback to them on that.
I'm only making a presentation so everybody's aware that the last we dealt with this, the FAA was adamantly opposed to through the fence operations.
Oh, yes.
The FAA, the DOT, as well as the DOT, it came at one point and said, if you do it through the fence, we're not going to give you grants. They've softened on that, but that's how much they dislike it. I will give you guys one more update. It's not on it's on a proposed agreement. We have finished negotiations with Turo. They signed the agreement yesterday. It's a one-year deal. I'll be signing that and sending it back. It's 6% of gross plus parking. It's basically a 1 year, see how it operates, see how much they're using the airport, and then we'll go into a longer term deal with them. But
And what do they do again?
Turo it's a peer-to-peer car sharing network. So you have a spare car, you drop it off at the airport and let somebody take it for the weekend. And
Is that right?
yeah.
You can rent your car.
Yeah, if you're not using it, you can rent your car. Unfortunately, what's really happening with Turo is the used car lots, well, back when they had used cars, were taking their excess inventory and just letting it create cash for them while it sat on the lot. So it's an interesting idea. I think we'll be one of the first 10 airports to have a deal with Turo in the country. We're I think second or third in Florida, maybe third right now, and we're fighting with Sarasota to be third. So
I'm assuming they're less expensive than some of the bigger chains, or they charge the same, or?
well, that's what's still yet to be seen. They have higher end cars at times. They're less expensive at times, but they require a much smaller footprint because we're not building buildings for them, return lots. But again, they're taking away from car rentals, just like Uber and Lyft took away from taxis. So it's a changing environment, and we're just trying to get contractual agreements with everybody who operates here so we can actually see what they're doing. We know Turo's been operating here for years. We have towed a couple of cars that we believed were Turo cars that were parked illegally, and the board passed a resolution about Turo a few months ago, and that kind of spurred them to get in contact with us or actually return our calls to get this. So Tampa was the first, St. Pete, now us and Sarasota are about to sign deals.
Thank you, James. You ready to move on?
Certainly. So I'm going to update you on the federal vaccine mandate. This is different from the 100-employee mandate that's going through OSHA. This is a federal contractor mandate. We've been following this very, very closely, as it does affect us at this point, and it affects both our tower operator and our TSA contractor, as they all fall under it. We've been assured by the tower operations RVA that they're working towards getting 100% vaccination or medical or religious waivers from all their employees prior to the January 4th deadline. The deadline was moved from right before the holidays to right after the holidays. No comment on that. The enforcement for private businesses that do contract work with the federal government is a little wider in their discretion of how you deal with employees, how you dismiss employees. It allows us to make some decisions, but it could affect some of our workforce, especially after January 4th, as we may have to move some people around, do some changing with our workforce. We are currently at about 71% vaccinated. We sent a survey out. We have a number of employees who are not going to get vaccinated. We're going to have a sit down with each one of them to talk about the reasons and to see if they're going to fill out a religious or medical exemption. And then we're also monitoring legal challenges to this. The current challenges have all been focused around private business over 100 employees. It's the government contractor mandate that has kind of gotten lost in a lot of this. We're expecting something, but there has, as of this point, there's been no injunction granted to any of these federal contractors that would then trickle down.
Well, isn't part of this now in court?
Well, it
Right
is,
now?
but there has been, but most of the cases are the private industry. But really, as a contractor, and we're considered a contractor because of our grants with the TSA. There's the line that says, and we can change this contract at any time to mean anything, and you put up with that. It's like the grants that we got under the Shovel Ready Act years ago, that 2 weeks after we got the grant, they changed the grant, and you had two choices. You sign the change or you give the grant back. And so I just want to let you know that we're on top of it. We're going to look in early December at this again, and you may see Gary, Ray, and I out there fueling aircraft because, we will be cross-training people to make sure we don't lose any operational ability.
Mr.
Questions?
Chair.
Yes.
James, how much is that TSA grant for?
A little over 900,000. And it's not a grant, it's an OTA, an other transaction agreement, and because of that they're considering it a contract.
James, just as a note, while I'm not familiar with the plethora of regulations coming out from that, in asking employees questions about that, one thing I know you have to be careful about HIPAA and how you ask them medical questions relative to their desire to get or not get the vaccine. So just be cautious in that regard.
Yeah. We are following the tightrope of what we can ask and can't ask. Yeah.
It makes no sense to me that you somehow can get a medical waiver, but you can't ask them about their medical process. And so you've got two federal laws, one saying do this, one saying you can't.
So the medical waiver requires a doctor's signature. The religious waiver does not. And as you and I have discussed, you're supposed to have and what's the legal term? For the review of a religious waiver?
Oh, the sincerity test.
Sincerity test. I'm not going to go through sincerity testing of employees. We will accept waivers if given to us.
Just understand a sincerity test derives basically from incarceration of prisoners that demand certain rights relative to a process. Probably the most common is when a person demands that they be given kosher meals, and they have a sincerity test where they sort of have to establish that, yes, they're actually following a kosher process. And if they fail the sincerity test and they don't get kosher meals, that's where the concept of sincerity test comes from.
So I just want to let you know that we're on top of it, spending a lot of time on conference calls with a lot of airports. I was on a 2-hour call with the Contract Tower Association earlier this week. I have a one-on-one call with their attorney later to talk about, they offered him to talk to us about individual mandates, and we're going to continue to work through it, but I just wanted to let you know that it's something that is high on our list of priorities, and we'll keep you up to date.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Any further questions?
I'm just curious as to who writes the questions for the sincerity test.
I'm not, it would not be me.
Could be a new business for me.
There actually are formats for that relative, as primarily related to incarcerated individuals who are demanding certain religious liberties while incarcerated. And there's actually formats for that. Charlotte County Jail has one. I know because I drafted it.
Commissioner Elver.
Yes, Mr. Parrish, is the $900,000 TSA contract, is that something that we are completely reliant on, or is there something that we could do to absorb that cost? Is there any way that we could have security protocols and still be
This is
compliant with the FAA?
for the design of the baggage handling system that they have to be part of. So they would not, yeah, we have to have them as partners in this.
Does the federal government ever give us grants that are not considered, what did you?
Sure, the FAA has said we don't have this authority. They said it in masking, but the TSA is new and their attorney thinks they have broad authority. And when we asked what their authority was on a conference call to mandate masks, she said broad. That was the answer.
Any chance the airports want to get together and challenge that?
They are, but you know, it's a mandate that has an end, and by the time we got to the end of the mandate, it would be probably not heard. But the problem is it has been continued 3 times now, and we're continued until when? January right now. So.
I feel like they just don't understand about the labor shortage and about what that does to companies and governments and businesses operationally. It's just, it's ridiculous.
I think that's some of the insincerity, and this is, and I didn't want this to break down into a mandate thing, but to change the date from before the holidays to after the holidays kind of isn't a sincere concern about the mandate. If it's good now, it's good now. If it shouldn't be held off. But that's my update. I will continue to follow and keep you guys up to date, and I'll bring that back in December to tell you where we are.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Parrish. We will move on then, and we'll move through old business. We have nothing in that area. And we'll move on to our new business, 14A, Commissioner Andrews, CEO Parrish's contract renewal.
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend last month's meeting, but I did notice that it was mentioned about good idea to review Mr. Parrish's employment agreement, and I asked it to be put on the agenda, and our legal counsel, Attorney Carr, put together a first modification employment draft. It's pretty, I thought it was very straightforward. We're basically going to look at amending the Mr. Parrish's original agreement. Only paragraph 1, as you see on the draft, there be no other modifications. Employment agreement shall otherwise remain in full force and effect exactly as written, with no changes in compensation, benefits, or duties, and exercise of the second option employment period, which would commence on August 1st, 2022. Is there anything, Attorney Carr, that you'd like to add to this?
No, I drafted it at your direction and request. It's a proposed format. The easiest way I thought was to modify or to just simply amend the current contract to add that time frame rather than try and rewrite an entire contract. It was easier to and more succinct to do it that way. I would note that if you want that, you need to make it in the form of a motion, so there can be further discussion.
Yep. Okay. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the first modification of the CEO James Parrish's employment agreement as presented.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion for an approval.
Second.
All right, we have a second from Commissioner Capola. Do we have any discussion? Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, you're welcome. We'll move on to Attorney Carr for the election of officers.
Thank you.
I'll hand you the gavel, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been handed the gavel for the purposes of conducting the election of the officers for the upcoming annual period from today for 1 year. I normally follow this process by starting with the chair first. The gavel has been passed to me. I would entertain any nominations for chair. Somebody's got to do it.
I would nominate the gentleman to my right here, Rob Hansick.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Capola has nominated Commissioner Hansick. Do I have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Call nominations closed. I'd like to call the vote then to make certain of this. All those in favor of Commissioner Hansick as chairman, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. You're in charge. Would you like me to pass the gavel to you, sir, in order for you to...
I think you ought to complete your assignment.
Okay.
I do have a question, though. As the chairman, can the chairman voice opinions on the subjects that appear on the agenda?
Yes, sir. The only thing I think you can't do under Robert's rules is actually make the motion unless you pass the gavel, and the gavel has to remain passed while the motion that you've made is under consideration.
Okay, and the other way you do it is if you leave the chair and you go to the podium and act as a citizen.
I don't think that you advocate your position as chair by simply going to the podium, but
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Commissioner Hass.
Are you accepting?
She got voted in.
Chairman-elect has asked that I continue forward with the process, so we'll then go to the chair, vice chair. Do I have any nominations for the vice chair?
I think Jim Hurston. Oh, I nominate Jim Hurston to be vice president. if that's
The nomination for Commissioner Hurston. Any other nominations for vice chair? Once. Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Hurston serving as a vice chair signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
On your demotion. The next office is Secretary Treasurer. Do I have any nominations to serve as Secretary Treasurer?
That's a toughie.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Kathleen Coppola.
The nomination of Commissioner Coppola. Do I have any other nominations for Secretary Treasurer? Second call. Any nominations for Secretary Treasurer? Hearing none, I'd call a vote on Commissioner Coppola to serve as Secretary Treasurer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. Last one is we have an office of Assistant Secretary Treasurer. Do I have any nominations to serve as the Assistant Secretary Treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Vanessa Oliver.
The nomination for Commissioner Oliver to serve as the Assistant Secretary Treasurer. Do I have any other nominations? Second call, any other nominations? Hearing none, I'd call a vote on Commissioner Oliver serving as the Assistant Secretary Treasurer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You now have your new board. I'm going to pass the gavel back to Commissioner Hurston to complete this, unless you want.
No.
If you could.
I think you should complete the meeting.
I should complete the meeting. I'm not sure that's the case. Is that true?
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, very good.
I just declared that you can do that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Your first declaration is to abdicate your duties.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, we'll move on then to our 14C, which is our professional engineering and planning services request for quotes selection. Mr. Parrish.
So I'll remind you that we do this about every 5 years. We're allowed to go 5 years between selections. We do a 3-year contract with a 2-year option. So this was the end of the 5 years. We had extended the option. So we went out a few months ago. We got 8 very well qualified firms that want to work with us and for us. We ranked them. There was a group of employees and board members that scored them independently, and the scores are in front of you. Kimley Horn, number 1, Michael Baker, number 2, and AECOM, number 3, with CNS and ICE following up closely in 4 and 5. We generally select 3 firms as we get busier and busier. Having only one has become problematic, so our recommendation is that we select the top 3 scores, Kimley Horn, Michael Baker, and AECOM, to serve as our on-call consultants for the next 3 years with a 2-year option. Keep in mind that any projects that are over $4 million have to be individually bid, so or RFP'd. So this would be for, and I say this begrudgingly, for small projects under $4 million.
Jim, have we ever had a situation where 3 on that list was inadequate?
No.
Okay,
No.
never.
And unfortunately, if you go over 3, someone's not going to get work.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try and figure out who's best positioned workload-wise and staffing-wise to handle the different projects we put out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
members. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, since I was on the evaluation team, I'd move forward with a motion to approve the top 3 firms as our engineering firms of record for the next 3-year period with a 2-year option as detailed in the agenda, which is Kimberly Horn, Michael Baker, and AECom.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, I second that.
All right, we have a motion for approval and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No, all good.
Hearing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. At this point, that concludes our new business. We'll move on then to Commissioner comments. We'll start off down here to the right with Commissioner Andrews.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. It's been good. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. And that's all I have to say.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Oliver.
I'll echo those comments. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
We'll move on to Commissioner Capola.
And I will third those. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Hope you all have a good family day with all the people that you love. And also pray for our country and our servicemen, especially the ones overseas, and our retired ones here in the community. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Commissioner Hansick.
I'll get to the good wishes for Thanksgiving. I have 2 things I would like to comment on. One, I did attend the Airport Council International Annual Conference. It was in Reno. They had a humongous attendance. Some 1,500 people attended. The sessions were interesting. As a matter of fact, I did go to a number of them. A couple of them I had to comment on was the subject matter. I said, we dealt with that 30 years ago and we still haven't solved the problem. But we did, there was a very interesting one on 3P or privatization, which was fairly rowdy. And it was headed up by the gal that runs the St. Louis airport. You know, they went through that process too. So it was a very interesting conference. I did come back with some useful information. The other comment I have is maybe next month our CEO could report on the Biden gift to airports of $25 billion on how we're going to spend it.
We're getting 25 million?
Billion.
Billion?
Is going to airports.
Gee, maybe we get a raise.
From what I understand, the dollars will be appropriated based on the employment formula. And I did ask the question in the session, well, what if an airport doesn't have a project ready to go? What happens to their allocation? Do they get to bank it, or does it go into the discretionary fund? Now, if I was an airport operator, I sure would like to bank it rather than let that money go. So I think it's very important for us. And, you know, we got our new engineering firms and planners and all that. You know, we need to make sure we got projects that are in the queue.
I will definitely, the bill gives the FAA 30 days to promulgate rules, and we're waiting on those to figure out exactly how and what ratios the money will be distributed. But yes, I am following that very closely.
Okay. And everyone have a warm Thanksgiving with their families, and good luck on getting a turkey. I did get mine.
Many of them in Walmart the other day.
Yeah, Walmart.
But
Those are ducks.
Oh, I didn't buy one. I already had one.
That's all I have. And thank you for your confidence.
Attaboy.
Thank you,
The attaboy award.
Commissioner Hansick. James, any words
Well,
of wisdom?
I generally don't, but I do want to let everyone know that next month there will be someone sitting up with Amy. She is leaving in January.
Who's leaving in January? What?
My dedicated assistant is moving to Knoxville.
Where?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Have you ever been there?
So Kelly, and I don't have her last name in front of me. McLaughlin will be starting in early December and over the next month and a half learning a lot.
Wow, I'll say. When are you leaving?
Thank you.
I take it commuting wasn't feasible? I take it commuting wasn't feasible on Allegiant for you?
Well, we do have almost dailies.
Yeah, I'm saying, what's the problem?
Thank you, James. Attorney Carr.
It's always a pleasure to work with your staff. I would tell you, they are just all fine individuals, all moving. I get reminder emails to get things and process them. Obviously, every commissioner I speak to monthly on various topics, always a pleasure to speak with the commissioners. Appreciate your continued confidence.
Thank you, Attorney Carr. And with that being said, congratulations to Commissioner Hansick on his chairmanship. I'm sure he'll do an excellent job. But I've been honored to be the chair this year, and also happy Thanksgiving to everybody. It's good to see Dr. Pitts and see all our engineering firms and the new city council member, but I'll tell you, we wouldn't be anywhere without our staff. So congratulations on a great year, and you guys are awesome. But with that being said, happy Thanksgiving, and this meeting is adjourned.
Did you feel that?